Welcome everyone to the Hurting Humanity channel. There's a new movie out called Homestead, and thanks to all of you, I've become aware of the movie and aware of the plot of that movie, and it's worth covering since I've covered many of the predictive programming films that show Los Angeles on fire, that show Los Angeles either getting hit with a nuclear bomb or a natural disaster, but the destruction of Los Angeles is the clear theme. And this movie, Homestead, has multiple narratives that people out there should know about because there's tons of predictive programming, not just in the fact that they show you ahead of time that Los Angeles will burn, but also remember that they use predictive programming to train people subconsciously on how to behave if put in a similar situation. The Purge movies, for example, are training people on how to behave during a blackout or some type of an emergency is declared, where people will run amok in the streets and purge, so to speak. They're training them to behave that way. Well, there's a common theme in this movie that we saw in Leave the World Behind, which I'll get into after I show you the trailer that trains people out there to go after the real enemy in the event of a national crisis. That's, of course, the homesteaders, the people out there who have prepared and been preparing for some type of pre-planned event to occur that the government will blame on a boogeyman, whether it's Russia or China or the climate. People out there like me and you who have prepared by storing food, having ample amount of water supply. They're training people out there in the event of a catastrophe to look for people like us and to be angry at people like us and to demand that we give them the supplies that we have smartly saved and stored and warned people about over the years. And keep in mind, the people out there who will be coming to our doors when things like this occur are the same people who have been trying to silence us over the years, are going to be the same people who have called us crazy, loony conspiracy theorists. And even while all these events are going down, they will still believe the narrative that the mainstream media and the government gives them, even though we've warned them ahead of time that these events will occur. This is why they will occur. They'll believe the mainstream narrative because they've been trained to believe the mainstream narrative, even if we tell them ahead of time. The predictive programming that's ingrained in them will tell them otherwise. So the plot of this movie, Homestead, is a nuclear bomb is detonated in Los Angeles, and the nation devolves into unprecedented chaos. Ex-Green Beret Jeff Erickson and his family escape to the Homestead, an eccentric prepper's fortress nestled in the mountains. As violent threats and apocalyptic conditions creep toward their borders, the residents of the Homestead are left to wonder, how long can a group of people resist both the dangers of human nature and the bloodshed at their doorstep? And this is another movie you can add to the list where we see Los Angeles up in flames. Like I've said in previous videos, the predictive programming for Los Angeles has been going on for decades, and so has the predictive programming for a destruction of New York City via some type of quote-unquote apocalyptic event that is predetermined. They've been creating movies since 1933 showing New York City underwater, under attack, under martial law. So I just covered Demolition Man and San Angeles. Remember the plot of that film showing the futuristic Los Angeles renamed to San Angeles, the complete smart city utopia that they're trying to create. Terminator 2, you might remember the setting of that film is Los Angeles, and it ends, of course, with an apocalypse occurring, a nuclear apocalypse in Los Angeles that looks a lot like the nuclear apocalypse you're about to see in the trailer for this movie, right? But nobody told the people who made Homestead, hey, Terminator 2 is one of the most famous movies ever. It ends with a nuclear apocalypse in Los Angeles. Should we pick another city? How about Escape from LA? Should we pick another city? Escape from LA. Same exact type of scenario, right? In 2013, the president is exiling all citizens who don't conform to his hyper-conservative views to Los Angeles, right? That sound familiar? The poster's got Kurt Russell on it, and it says Snake is back with the one-eye symbolism. That plot about a hyper-conservative president who will ship people to pretty much exile Los Angeles because Los Angeles becomes depleted and looks like it's been nuked, right? Kind of like it looks now with the Snake going back in office. Because remember Donald Trump and his Snake poem. You knew who he was before you let him in. We've had movies like 10.0 Earthquake, San Andreas, Eruption LA, Destruction Los Angeles. Even people like The Weeknd making songs about escaping from LA. So here is the trailer for this movie, Homestead. Keep in mind not only the destruction of Los Angeles, but like I mentioned, the specific training, because this is how MK Ultra works. They're training people out there how to behave in events like this. They're telling them without telling them flat out, look for people who are homesteading. Look for people who are preppers. What they have should belong to you too, even though it shouldn't, because those people should have listened to the warnings. They should pay attention to what the news is actually telling them and showing them, and they should be preparing themselves for a quote-unquote apocalyptic event that the government has planned for all of us. So here is the trailer for this movie that is currently out in theaters.
Everyone wondered how the world ended.
America's just been attacked.
Go watch. But this is the story of how it began.
Los Angeles has been struck by a bomb.
It might be nuclear.
After today, our lives will never be the same.
We have looting and widespread panic.
Hey!
Daddy has a place for us to go.
The city's on fire.
There's a guy been planning for the big one.
This is please.
Welcome to Homestead. Your guys have to learn how to farm.
We grow our food. We raise our animals.
This might be the most prepared location in the Rockies. Everyone's gonna want in. And I mean everyone.
My family's out here, and we're starving to death.
I wish we could help, but we can't.
You can or you won't.
Our kids need us to be strong.
People are gonna die at this gate.
Trespassers. The hills.
They're stealing your grain. They've cut off your solar power.
You think that you're above the law? Do you think that the rules aren't for you?
Is this an ark or is this a fortress?
It's our home.
It's the end of the world.
So yes, we see that same, almost identical picture in the beginning of that trailer of Los Angeles up in smoke, right? So again, they choose Los Angeles. And then of course you see this scene where people are showing up at the gates, wanting in, feel like they need to be let in. Look, I've got kids. How can you lock me out, right? This is how people are going to be trained subliminally into coming for people like us. We're going to be looked at as the enemy, not the true enemy, who is your controlled government who are working together to sabotage our lives. We're going to be looked at as the enemy because we save things, because we have food, and we're not sharing food willingly. You're not sharing any antibiotics or whatever you might have that somebody might need in case they get sick. How dare you do that? And that goes back to Leave the World Behind. One of the themes that people didn't notice in that film, and in my entire breakdown on Leave the World Behind, is on my website. It's about a 45-minute video. I have a couple videos on that movie. The predictive programming is off the charts. Everybody saw most of the trailers. Everybody saw Barry Sortoro, Barack Obama's production company produced it. Of course, it's all right in front of your face. And one of the things I point out that a lot of people didn't notice is that Kevin Bacon's character was portrayed as the conspiracy theorist. He even had him with the prepper food in the back of his car for, for My Patriots or For Patriots or My Patriots Supply. Had it literally in the trunk of his car. And then, of course, when everything hits the fan, so to speak, they show up at his house. People show up needing things, thinking that it's his responsibility to give the things that he's stored to these people because they don't know what's going on. It's not fair that they were so dumb and they were just enjoying the world and pretending like the things we were all saying was fear porn and crazy and conspiracy, right? Training them to show up at your door and take your supplies. Does this look just like the theme of that movie?
Gotta have something to do with that noise. You know something about the noise? Microwave weapons, they call it, produces a kind of radiation that can be beamed out through sound. I assume it's a war. The beginning of one anyways. This has to be what they were chattering about.
Shadow, what do you mean, Shadow?
You gotta read the papers deeper than page 1.
And knowing how primed you are for these kind of situations, we're thinking you might have some medicine that'll be able to help you.
What I got isn't your business.
We're friends.
That's the old way, George. You're not thinking clearly. When the world doesn't make any sense, I can still do what's rational, which is protect my own. You do is your business.
Now, if you have some medicine that can help him,
We can pay $1,000.
Cash might not mean much if the government falls.
Well, the whole network's down. There's no Venmo or Apple Pay. I mean, cash might be the only thing that means something.
I suggest you try your neighbors, the Thorns. They did a basement conversion on the down low doomsday bunker.
come on, Danny, you can't desert us like this.
Haven't you been picking up on what's going on out there? We've all been deserted.
The only way this ends is if you get back in your vehicle and drive away now. All the roads are blocked. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do right now. I can barely do anything without my cell phone and my GPS. I am a useless man. I am begging you, please help my son.
We made a lot of enemies around the world. Maybe all this means is a few of them teamed up.
That is becoming one of the new predictive programming models that we're seeing in these apocalyptic films. The people who are preppers, who are homesteading, who are survivalists, who are prepared for what is coming, are somewhat put in these films as antagonists. Protagonist is the hero. Antagonist is the villain. You look at these movies and you say, well, who's the antagonist? The antagonist should be the people in Homestead. There should be the people responsible for the nuclear bomb, right? But really the movie's about these people who have homesteaded. And now the fact that they're closing their doors to everybody out there because they're trying to take care of themselves and their family. They have years of food to support their kids. But how dare they actually do that? The antagonist becomes the homesteader instead of the real person responsible for committing the acts, the atrocities in the first place, which really in these movies is the government. Leave the world behind. Who do you think the mystery boogeyman is dropping pamphlets out of the sky? It's your own government doing it, right? What do you think? Oh yeah, Korea's flying planes over North America because the grid is shut down and the military's not responding because everything got hit with a, electromagnetic pulse. So they're flying planes and they're dropping pamphlets, right? Of course, that's all propaganda because your own government will be responsible for when the grid goes off, just like your own government is responsible for these fires starting. And most people out there know this. The problem is that the thing that they're thinking is that it's happening because of stupidity. That's what they've trained people of specifically over the last 4 years. Everything Joe Biden did, everything his cabinet did, from putting in these people, remember they had the military guy? First we had the trans military people, right? And everybody looked at it and like, this is just, it's mind-boggling, right? And they put them in there because they're trans. You're not allowed to make jokes. You're not allowed to question if these people are credible to be in these positions of power. They put they were showing us a guy on TV who's wearing a dog mask. He identifies as a dog. He dresses as a dog in his spare time. That's his fetish, right? This was all done deliberately so that they could get away with sabotaging the United States of America, because now the conservatives who are getting put back in power and everybody out there that's seeing LA burn are saying, well, this is happening because of these idiots, these buffoons. But if you knew that they were competent and you knew that they were lighting the matches themselves, nobody would look at political affiliation. They would look at government corruption and, of course, would take this into their own hands and take these people out of power like our Constitution says. Think about it. Think about the difference between somebody doing something on purpose versus doing it accidentally. There's a big difference. If you believe the person like Gavin Newsom is just so dumb, and these Democrats are just so dumb that they don't know what they're doing, well, it makes you less likely to revolt. It makes you more likely to say, well, thank God Donald Trump's coming into power. But if you knew Trump and Newsom and Biden were all working together, and one side was playing the role of bumbling fool, and the other side was playing the role of alpha male, going to save the day, bring in a communist dictatorship, well, you might think a little bit differently, right? But of course, this is done by design. So Homestead, it's no coincidence that this came out pretty much at the same time as these fires. And the chosen city, once again, was Los Angeles. Everybody should keep an eye on New York City. We had the earthquake in New York City last year. There was an earthquake in northern Jersey that hit New York. That was a pre-test run. There are tons of films that have the same exact outcome as Los Angeles occurring in New York. And what happened on the 11th day of September, that is going to be nothing compared to what they eventually do to New York City. They are going to destroy it, just like they're destroying Los Angeles on purpose. What you're seeing is why they use symbology like the phoenix rising from the ashes. The same thing you saw when I covered the Notre Dame Cathedral being rebuilt and how they replaced a rooster on top of the Notre Dame Cathedral, literally with the phoenix rising, and openly admitted that it was the phoenix rising. They are burning it all down to rebuild it, or as they like to call it, build back better. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families, as always.